For today, we're playing Monster Hunter Wilds full release, and this time with the RTX 2070. We're playing at 1080p at the medium settings. No DLSS, for now. Alright, here we go with that. There we go. See you guys in the game. And we are in the game. Setting into the mid-30s, up to the high 30s, and down here, falling into the high 20s. For the graphics, it looks pretty okay for 1080p. It's not the sharpest out there. Now, the main issue that I can see here is the pop-in. It is quite bad. As you guys can see, the grass in front of me will just grow as I get closer and closer. So yeah, sadly, that's the main issue with the medium preset, but the overall graphics aren't too bad, to be honest. Wow, mid-20s there for a little bit, guys. Mid-20s. So yeah, 2070 will need DLSS to get a stable 30 going. I will try out FrameGen as well for this one, because, I mean, 60 FPS just running at native or base DLSS isn't going to happen, I don't think. And we are at medium, so we could go lower, but to be honest, the pop-in is already pretty bad, so I think medium is the lowest I'm going to go for this one. Now, the FPS does fall down quite a bit, though, into the mid-20s, and that does feel pretty bad. But I guess overall, on average, it plays okay on a controller. It's not amazing, but it's not terrible either, I guess. But let's back out, enable DLSS, and see how we go there. I'm hoping for a stable 30 this time. Playing with DLSS, we're now setting into the mid to high 40s instead of, I guess, the mid to low 30s from before. A pretty good jump, I would say. Definitely pretty good. But right here, it will fall down quite a bit, like always. So let's see how far it does fall. For the graphics, it is pretty good. It isn't the sharpest again, but it is definitely usable for 1080p. But yeah, down here, mid 30s again. I think our lowest point was, I guess, the mid to high 20s with native. And even now, it is falling pretty close to the low 30s, guys. Lowest point was 31 here. Fighting this guy. Way above 30. If you are playing with base DLSS, I would cap the FPS here to 30. Because although we can get 40 and more in those easier scenes, it isn't stable or consistent. So you cap the FPS, or use FrameGen and get 40 plus at all times. I'm going to guess probably 50 FPS on average in this scene here. And easier scenes, of course, in the 60s and the 70s most likely. FSR3 FrameGen active, and we're all the way up into the 70s. There we go. For the graphics, it looks pretty similar to before with DLSS, to be honest. Looks pretty good for 1080p. Again, not the sharpest. And it does look kind of grainy at times, but overall, it's usable. It is definitely usable. And out here, we are sitting into the 60s still. Wow, mid-60s. Okay, pretty good. Pretty close still, actually. Even out here, it is holding on into the mid-50s and the high 50s. Wow. Quite impressed, actually. I'm quite impressed. We sat into the low 30s here. That was our lowest point with DLSS. And so far, our lowest point has been the low 50s. Pretty good. For the controls, or the input, I guess. Feels fine. Can't feel any extra input delay. And I can't feel any stutters either. I mean, I can feel some stutters, but they're very minor. Alright, on keyboard and mouse. Oh yeah, that feels way worse on keyboard and mouse, to be honest. A bit more sluggish on keyboard and mouse, but still playable. But ideally for this one, use a controller. It feels way more responsive and more consistent, I guess. So that's my pick with that one. Use a controller, and it feels pretty good. Can't even lie. Cool, let's back out, play at 1440p, and see how we go there. And we are sitting into the mid-20s here. Mid-20s, alright. Down there, it'll be far worse. I'm gonna guess probably 14 FPS, at most 18 FPS. But let's find out. For the graphics, it looks way better. It's way sharper. But I don't know if it's playable, to be honest. Obviously, it does look better, but yeah. FPS-wise, coming 30 FPS with DLSS maybe, and maybe like 40 or 50 with FrameGen. So right here, sitting at 20. Not bad actually. 20 FPS isn't that bad. Surprisingly. Like, I thought it's going to be way lower, but yeah. DLSS active, and we're all the way up into the high 30s here. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. For the graphics, it's still very sharp, but not as good as native. So a bit softer, and there's some grain in there as well. Kind of looks grainy at times. How far will the FPS fall? So far, the low 30s. Might fall even below it, to be honest. And there it is. The high 20s there. Mid 20s almost. Oop, yep. There it is, the mid 20s. Yeah, I'm not sure for this one, to be honest. It falls below 30, so even on a controller, it doesn't feel the best. And FrameGen here can't really help us because we are falling below 30. So might have to lower the settings, guys. Or increase the LSS to performance instead of balanced. That's also an option as well. FSR 3 active with FrameGen as well. And up here, we are well above the 60s. Now for the graphics, not as good as before, guys. This is worse than the LSS, surprisingly. That kind of sucks. I'm not a fan of it, but if you like how it looks, use it. It's all good. So far, oh man, the FPS does fall down as well into the low 50s. So for the inputs at 50 FPS, I mean, a bit worse, that's for sure. It isn't as good as 60. So a bit of input delay, but it's kind of minor right now. It isn't a big deal. On keyboard and mouse though, it's way worse. On keyboard and mouse, it feels way more sluggish. So it's really up to you. Choose what you like. For me, I'm playing at 1080p with FrameGen at 60 FPS. Looked pretty good, and it felt pretty smooth as well. If you're fine with 30 FPS, then play at 1440p, DLSS, and probably a mix of medium and low. But yeah, just try it out, see what you like more, and go with it instead. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time for the next video. See you guys there.